In chapter 15, we're going to start looking outward. Chapter 14, we were looking inward at our personal traits and things that would help us decide on a career path. In chapter 15, we're talking about doing the research on how to choose a major and choosing career opportunities by using the resources that are available to us. So one of the approaches that is recommended is this idea of practical reasoning. It's all about clarifying your values and your goals. So you're recognizing the problem and then figuring out personal factors that would go into that decision-making process. So you're going to examine whatever facts are relevant to that situation, like thinking about what you're good at, what you enjoy, environmental type of characteristics, like the type of salary that you need to make, where you want to live, um, the type of skills that you have in place, and things like that that would be environmental factors. And then taking all of that information to evaluate and to use this kind of steps as a problem solving guide to be able to help you figure out what type of career you want to go into. And this is kind of an overall theme of this class that we've been working on this whole semester. A lot of your assignments have gone into this process already, so we've already kind of been building on this. So chapter 15 kind of is a summary of what things you've already been doing during this class. So when we look at choosing a major, the textbook recommends going through these 4 steps about thinking what you enjoy studying, then getting as much information as you can, doing research, talking to people, evaluating all that information to make a decision, and then once you do, start taking action on that. So jump into a course that's going to be an introduction to that major. Talk to the professors that are in that department, and they can give you a good idea of what that major would look like. If you've already chosen a major, you can still go through these steps to make sure that the major that you have declared is right for you. Most students do change their major during the course of their college years. Most incoming freshmen really don't have any idea what they want to do. Some do, but it's kind of this process of just trying new things out. And it's okay if you don't really know yet. And that's why we're learning these things. That's one of the great benefits of taking a class like this is that it really gives you the opportunity to explore the things that you're interested in and to study all these, research all these different majors and to figure out what might be a good fit for you. So if you still don't know exactly what you want to do, that's okay. And that can change down the road if you think you know what you want to do and you decide that and then you get sort of halfway through the process and you realize, wait, maybe this isn't for me. That's okay too. So it's just always good to kind of be looking at all the different options and to be able to make sure that the major that you choose is right for you. Then once you do that, figuring out what's next. So a lot of the jobs that you might be looking at, once you graduate from your 4-year degree for your undergrad, that's it. You can then start applying for jobs. Other situations, you might need to look into graduate school. So at that point, well, before you get to graduation, you're going to need to make sure that you know what the next step is going to be. So am I looking at applying to grad school? If so, what's that going to look like? Do I need to take some entrance exams? I need to get my transcripts ready. I need to make sure that I am applying to a lot of different grad schools, things like that. So kind of depending on what field you choose, you've got to start looking at what are those next steps going to be. And we have tons of resources here at USM. I think this class is great to kind of open our eyes and show us like what we actually have to work with the Career Center. And the website that we've been using in this class is some really, really good information. The Occupation Outlook Handbook was one of the options for a previous assignment that gives tons of information on possible jobs and like really concrete information on what type of salary does that job make? What are the educational requirements? What would that look like? Some other ways to find good real life experience on what would it actually look like when you get into this field. So I think a lot of times we pick a major, we go through all of our classes, we have this idea in our head of like, okay, let's say we want to be a teacher. Like, well, what does that look like? It's really hard to say what does that look like until you've actually started doing it. So For that occupation, student teaching is the perfect way to be able to go and figure out what does it actually look like on a day-to-day basis being a teacher. But you can do that in a lot of other careers too. You can go job shadowing. You can find someone that's in that career and ask to follow them around for a couple of days and just they'll show you what they do and explain what a typical day looks like for them. So if you're not sure about what this career might look like for you, go do a job shadowing. You can also volunteer at places that are similar to what you're looking at, and they'll always appreciate volunteer hours. An internship, similar idea. You might not get paid for it, but you can get on the job experience of what that is actually going to look like in the real world. So hopefully this class has helped you to be able to see some of those things and to be able to actually get out into the real world and figure out what some of these jobs would really look like on a day-to-day basis. And then the last thing we're going to talk about is creating a portfolio. So in our last assignment for this class, we're going to be submitting a resume. So I think we all know what a resume is, basic summary of your education, your career experience, your previous jobs, things like that. A portfolio is a little bit different than that. So a portfolio can kind of tell a story of who you are, and you can really gear it toward the type of job that you're looking for. So I think of like an interior designer, for example. They're going to have a resume, obviously, on a piece of paper that lists out what all of their qualifications are, their education, their grade, their experience. But when we look at a portfolio, it would actually have some visuals with it, maybe some pictures of designs that you've done in the past. It can be an electronic type of portfolio as well. It doesn't have to just be on paper. It can be something that the employer can go look at that shows kind of a representation of who you are. So it doesn't have to just be interior designers or artists that have portfolios. You can, in education or any other career, you can create a portfolio for yourself that really just tells the story of who you are. And a lot of those are done in a digital format that makes it a little easier to have pictures and make it a little more interesting. So along with your resume, you can also consider a portfolio that will really help those potential employers to get to know you as a person and really help you to stand out when you're in that interview process. So hopefully chapter 15 has just been an overview of what we've already been doing for the whole semester, kind of looking outward at all of these different career options and looking at choosing a major that's right for you. And then based on whatever major that is, figuring out what you want to do with your career. So let me know if you have any questions about chapter 15.